Good morning, book friends. This is Kat. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be my biblical fiction challenge recommendations slash pile of possibilities slash resources for you guys, and I have a lot to cover, so let's just go ahead and jump right in. As always, my challenge is linked in the description box below, and I will let you know what I have read and then what is on my personal pile of possibilities or other resources that I might include in this. So this is a primarily like biblical fiction retelling challenge, as well as reading through the Bible. So for the month of June, we are actually looking at the Gospels, which is always great to reread. There are 4 of the Gospels you can choose from: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and each Gospel focuses on like different things. Although they're all the same, there are some stories that are included in some and some that aren't. Whatever gospel you choose, go for it. I think what I'm leaning towards is reading the Gospel of Mark, and let's kind of go through some resources for the biblical part. What I mean by that is like supplements to kind of help with devotional time, or if you're doing Bible studying time. I know a lot of people have mentioned some great resources in the comments about, I think it's like Guidepost or some other website that you can find supplements and resources for. And so I actually found this one in a little free library, and this is the Gospel of Mark, A Beginner's Guide to the Good News by Amy Jill Levine. And when I found this, I kind of knew that this would work perfectly for the month of June. I got this like early on this year. And so I'm leaning towards reading the Gospel of Mark for June, and I want to go through this and use this as like that supplement with my Bible reading. So that is one book. And then another book that I have that could be a good supplement and I also have not read is Imagine Meeting Him, Soul-Stirring Encounters with the Son of God by Robert Rasmussen. And these are just stories about Jesus's teachings and something else that I might want to look through. But it kind of goes through all the Gospels. So this is a possibility as well for me, but it has been on my TBR for a while. So those are the books that I have not read. So some other books that I have read that I found were enjoyable. The Case for Christ. I really recommend this. This is by Lee Strobel, and I loved the movie, but I enjoyed reading through this. This is just, I guess, like apologetics in a way, but this guy, he was trying to prove that the resurrection never happened and that he was trying to kind of disprove his wife's faith in a way, but ends up proving that the resurrection was and is real. And it's just his documentation over some of those questions he had about Christ and things. And so I do recommend this book, and it was a great read. Another book that I do recommend is The Characters of Easter, The Villains, Heroes, Cowards, and Crooks Who Witness History's Biggest Miracle by Daniel Darling. And this one basically takes people from the Easter story that we know in the Bible, and he focuses on each character. And so some of the characters include Peter, John, Judas, Barabbas, Pilate, Thomas, the Pharisees, scribes, and Sadducees, the woman at the tomb, and Nicodemus, and Joseph of Arimathea. The Executioners as well. And I enjoyed this one. They have suggested hymns and songs at the end, and it was fun to listen to that with my husband. We read it together one year during the Lent season, and I enjoyed it. He does have another book, which we actually did not finish. I don't think it was the right time for us to read it, or we were just not in a reading mood. But as you can see there, but I am curious about this one. This one is The Characters of Christmas, the unlikely people caught up in the story of Jesus. So technically I didn't finish this one, and I guess I'm going to try to give it another go during Christmas time. So, but I did enjoy his Easter one. So we'll see about this one too. I probably won't pick this one up right now, but I just thought I'd mention it here. Okay, so those were just resources, supplements to your devotional reading. And now let's jump into the biblical fiction books. So the first one I want to talk about is Up from Dust by Heather Kaufman. And I loved this book. This book, you follow Martha, and Martha is known in the Bible to kind of be like a worrywart. Her sister is Mary of Bethany, and so it kind of goes through that story, but I really enjoyed this book because it took that story but made like the characters, you know, real and alive, and I felt like I really connected with Martha, especially with like some of the sibling dynamics in that book. And it was just a beautiful story. And she also, followed scriptures too. She didn't like take things out of scripture. And I just really enjoyed it. I remember it was very emotional. Heather Kaufman is someone that I would like to read more from. The next book I'm going to talk about is my all-time favorite book, and I highly, highly recommend this author, and that is Tessa Afshar. This is Land of Silence. This is a 5-star book. This is my favorite from hers, and I really do need to do another reread from this. But you follow Eliana, and she is a woman who like bled, I think 12 years, and she just had this, this sickness, and she has this guilt she carries. This story was very emotional. This story deals with guilt. It deals with faith. So much emotion that it was just, it felt like tragedy after tragedy, but I love this book so much. This one has a beautiful picture of her meeting Jesus. It was just a beautiful moment. I think I teared up with this, but I highly recommend this book if you have not read this yet. This is my all-time favorite. So anyway, there's that one. And I'm sorry I'm going a little fast, but I do have a long list. So next books that I want to recommend are on my personal TBR list. I have not read them yet. So if these sound interesting to you, maybe pick one up, and I hope that you enjoy it. So another one you could do is, if you've been reading through A Lineage of Grace, there is a section here talking about Mary, who is Jesus's mother. So that one could be a good read. The next one I have is Journey to the Well by Diana Wallace Taylor. And this one is about a girl named Mara, and she is the woman at the well when she meets Jesus. And I believe this is the one where she has 5 husbands. So that's another one. The other one that I have on here is called Unveiled. This is Tamar's story by Rosanna M. White. And this is a kind of like a retelling of the crucifixion. She just kind of talks about the events that unfolded. I saw this on Goodreads, and so this also looked like an interesting book to read. Another book that I have on my list is Claudia, the Wife of Pontius Pilate by Diana Wallace Taylor, and this is about Pontius Pilate's wife during Jesus's ministry to his crucifixion, and I think maybe after. So that's another one. The other book I have is The Well and the Tomb, and this is by Sarah Lansing, I think. And so The Well, I think, is also The Woman at the Well, and then The Tomb is the tomb from the resurrection. So those are some other books I have on my list. One I have is on my list is Martha by Diana Wallace Taylor, and this is the story of Martha. Then some other ones are kind of like within a series. I think they're like the Extraordinary Woman of the Bible series or the Ordinary Women of the Bible series. And these are just written by different authors. You don't have to read them in order from my understanding. So I'm just going to go through some of them. One of them is called The Healer's Touch, and this is Tikva's story by Connellan Cassette. And I think that is like the woman who bled for 12 years. That's her story. Another one is An Unlikely Witness. This is Joanna's story, and this is by Ginger Garrett. And this one is about a woman named Joanna who she's a part of Jesus's ministry. I think she's mentioned in the Bible about some women who helped give to his ministry. I think she's only mentioned by name, so this one could be an interesting one. The next one is within the series is Rich Beyond Measure by Robin Lee Hatcher, and this one is Zlata's story, and I think she's fictional in like the name is fictional. This one says basically she loses her parents, her husband, her child, and so she's dependent on her demanding in-laws for survival, and so she has this heart of bitterness. And this is talking about how she hears the voice of a new teacher telling her that she is blessed despite being poor. And so towards the end of this paragraph I'm reading, it talks about how she give up everything down to her last two mites. And I feel like that is a story in the Bible where it's the woman who gave up everything that she had. So that one could be an interesting story to read. The next one is No Stone Cast, and this is Eliana's story. This one says it is by Carol Torres, and this one is the woman who committed adultery, and I think she's going to get stoned. And Jesus ends up saying, like, anyone who has not sinned could be the first to cast a stone or something, and the crowd leaves, and Jesus doesn't condemn the woman. So that one I'm actually really interested in as well. I'm actually interested in all of these, but some of them more so than others, and that one is really catching my eye. The next one is Alone at the Well, and this is Fotine's story. I'm not sure I'm doing a good job on pronouncing these names, but this is by Sandy Rogg, and this is the woman with the 5 husbands. And she's dealing with rejection, and then Christ comes to her and reveals himself to her. So that's another one. And Raised for a Purpose, this is Talia's story, and this one is by Virginia Smith. This one is actually the little girl who was raised from the dead at the age of 12 by Jesus, and then I think it's like her life after being raised from the dead. So again, an interesting woman to read about, an interpretation about. The next one is Highly Favored, Mary's Story, and this one is Ginger Garrett, and this one is the story about Mary being chosen for being mother to Christ. All right, almost done. Just 2 more. The other one is At His Feet. This is Mary Magdalene's story, and this one is from Rosanna M. White. And Mary Magdalene was a woman who was possessed by demons. and she also was talked about in the Bible here and there. But one of the other stories that she's known for is the story where she takes an alabaster jar and breaks it at the feet of Jesus, and she anoints his feet. And yeah, so the last one I have here is Tender Mercies, Elizabeth's story. And this one is by Texie Susan Gregory. And this one is Elizabeth in the Bible, who was Mary's cousin. And she's the one who gave birth to John the Baptist in her old age. So that one also has been catching my eye to read. So okay, that was a long list for you, and I know it was more possibilities or things that I have not read yet, but there is a lot in this category, I feel like biblical fiction centered around the Gospels. But it surprised me how much I actually have not read from this section too. So I just wanted to give you just a list of possibilities to look at. Yeah. All right. Let me know what you're going to be reading in June. My for sure plans are going to be in my June TBR, which will be coming up next week. So I will let you know for sure what I will be reading. I hope you guys are having a great rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you in another video. Bye, guys.